Welcome and thank you for joining our webinar today, How Hackers and Pen Testers Check for Misconfigurations and Vulnerabilities, with hacker, pen tester, enterprise security MVP, and named by SC Magazine as one of the top women to watch in security, Paula Januszkiewicz. You're also joined by Beyond Trust security engineer Bill Tilson, who will run through a brief overview of Beyond Trust Enterprise Vulnerability Management Solution, Retina, towards the end of the webinar, so please stick around for that. My name is Sarah, your webinar host today. I'd like to remind you to please submit your questions via the chat box in the GoToMeeting console anytime throughout the webinar, and we will cover your questions at the end during our Q&A time. Also, today's session is being recorded, and all attendees will receive a link to the recording and the presentation within 2 business days from now. So at this point, I'd like to welcome Paula to the line. Hello, Paula. Always excited to have you on our webinars, and please jump right in.
Hello, Sarah. Thank you so much for the great intro. And to be sincere, I can't wait what Bill's going to talk about, because it's a pretty much direct answer for all these things that I'll be talking about. So very much looking forward. And yeah, a couple of words regarding quick intro. Yeah, as you see, this is me. This is Paula, and I'll be describing today different types of techniques, how you are able to get access to the infrastructure. I will cover some of the attacks that are popular, pretty much always working, and we will see how can we exploit different types of vulnerabilities in the network when we are already in. Yeah, so we will get in. That's the first thing. Second, we will see what kind of stuff we can get when we are in. Yeah, so that's going to be the plan for today. Now, if it's about what I do and so on, I speak at the different types of conferences as well. It's a pleasure to be at Beyond Trust webinar as always, but you can also spot me at Microsoft Ignite, maybe Black Hat if you're going to be in London first week of December. I will be also speaking over there about our data protection API toolkit, which we will have also a chance a little bit to hear about today. So this is basically the plan. Yeah. Now, very important thing to mention at the very beginning is that whenever, of course, we are performing the penetration tests, and that's what I do in our company. Technically, I'm the CEO of the company, but I still do penetration tests because that's my hobby, that's what I like. And what is important to spot is that it is absolutely interesting to see what kind of different types of identities are in the network, and if they are privileged or not, and this is where everything starts. So it could be that, for example, things are misconfigured, and that's the most interesting type of vulnerability, because this requires a little bit of an interesting approach to spot that. It could be that, for example, things are not up to date, but it could be that we've got a situation that is relying on dependencies in between systems that makes the whole environment vulnerable. What do I mean by this? For example, we can have situation where we do not have, let's say, SMB signing turned on in our organization, and we do have privileged accounts, so administrators connecting to different types of resources by, let's say, IP addresses. That triggers NTLM version 2 authentication, and this is something that could lead to attacks like SND relay, etc., where you are able to take over certain types of hosts just by forwarding or relaying, as we should say, an authentication challenge. But of course, it's all rounding up into privileged access management, and the reason why I say that is because, of course, if these accounts were not connecting this way, that way, then we will not be able to get access to certain resources in the operating system. So it's all about the admins. We could be thinking that, well, that's not cool if you are using administrative access in order to get in somewhere. Yeah, totally, but I would like to show you how to get this administrative access when you are literally nobody in that network. But of course, precondition for these attacks is to be able to connect to this network. So someone needs to give you a network cable. So that's first thing. Second, we're going to also exploit the example of vulnerability where user is just a user and then immediately user gets elevated into local system. That's not a legal operating systems behavior, but that is actually due to a vulnerability. Now, interesting vulnerability because we're going to be playing with it in PowerShell only. Yeah, so PowerShell in our team we use it as a hacking tool. Lots of different types of tools that we have are actually written in PowerShell. Now, who blocks PowerShell? Yeah, we could, for example, use for that purpose GIA, just enough administration, but who uses that? That's my question here. If you do, amazing, but this is something that is working, for example, only for Windows Server 2012 R2, and by default Windows Server 2016 in 2012 R2 if you install Windows Management Pack 5. Yeah, so that's the setup. Okay, anyway, enough talking about the intro. It would be great if you could jump to a demo. So technically, let's do that, and I'm gonna be explaining a couple of things to you as well. So let me actually start with a little bit of a picture. Yeah, so I'm going to use a very advanced graphic tool, which is Paint, and I would love to show you very briefly right now how this attack is delivered, so that we have clear understanding of what's going on. So that attack works like this. So we've got over here a client, and of course a server. Yeah, so this is the regular type of a communication that we've got. Now, long story short, what happens is that client wants to authenticate to the server, so get access to the server's resources, and it's doing this by // and then it puts some kind of an IP address. Now, server says totally you can authenticate, but then there is this challenge, so small blob, as we could say, so the data blob, and please do encrypt it with your password hash, and because I know your hash, because we are using over here the NTLM version 2 authentication, we are able to authenticate you. Yeah, and of course at the end we are getting the session. So what is kind of funny over here is that the problem is that if we do have over here some kind of a server which we could mark with a V as a victim, then a hacker being somewhere in the network trying to sniff the traffic, so it could be done, for example, by ARP poisoning and so on, as one of the man-in-the-middle attacks, could take this challenge, and what it could do, it could forward it to this victim. And the problem is that that works. Yeah. So what does it mean that it works? So well, he's able to establish a session over here in the same type of way as the client would, and then he's able to communicate with the server as this user over here. And if this was an administrator, this hacker will be on that server administrator too. Yeah. So this is an attack that is definitely targeting privileged user in the network, authenticating using NTLM version 2, and also when the SMB it's not signed. And I can tell you, while doing pen test, I don't remember this year, and the past year maybe, but again, still I don't remember, but it's safely to say I don't remember this year, that in any of the pen tests that our team did, and myself as well, that was mitigated. It's a problem like hell, like all the time we can see that. So let's have a look how we're able to exploit that, and eventually how we are able to protect this. We can discuss that part too. So yeah, let's get into our Kali over here. So we're going to be setting up the attack first. Very good. So I have over here, just for your information, Metasploit console running. Yeah. So shall we use Metasploit for that purpose? Not really. We could, but we could help it, of course. That's definitely the case. But it's not the requirement for the attack. Yeah. So let me explain why. First of all, what we need to have is the payload. Payload, it's going to be the piece of code that we're going to be loading on the client, running on the client. Yeah. So over here, I've got different types of payloads, and this is the one that I have already pre-prepared. If you are wondering how did I prepare the payload, that is actually quite an easy case, because in our team we have written over 200 different types of hacking tools, and one of them is a CQ reverse shell generator, and CQ reverse shell generator allows us to specify IP address and the port, and that we do generate that particular payload in a form that is actually not discovered by antivirus. We're using over here the reflection techniques and a couple of other things. You can take this payload, upload it to a virus total, for example, and nobody will say a thing. I've been using this payload 2 weeks ago when I was doing the pen test, and there was one of the known antivirus out there, and it was not reacting to our payload. Anyway, so, and the tool, by the way, of course, it is publicly available. If our payloads will start to be recognized for a reason by antivirus, we'll just write another generator. So this is how simple it gets. Okay, anyway, so first of all, we need this payload. This payload will be the one that's going to be executed on the client when the session is going to be established. Now, on the Metasploit side, we need to configure a bit of a listener. Again, we could use Netcat, for example, for that too. Why not using Metasploit? Let's do that. Yeah. So it's going to be use exploit. Very good. Multi, and then handler. Lovely. And then we're going to do set payload, and then our payload will be with a type of Windows Meterpreter. Here we go. And then we're going to do reverse underscore TCP. Yeah, so this is this reverse shell. Reverse shell means if someone executes that executable, this person connects back to us. Yeah, so that's great, for example, for firewalls, because usually, again, statistically, when we execute something on our own computer, that the outgoing traffic is allowed. Yeah, so let's do show options. And then over here, we can see that our localhost IP address is not configured. So we're going to be listening set lhost on our own IP address, 99. Here we go. And this is pretty much what we need to have over here. Yeah, so lhost, lport, that's fine. And last thing over here, exploit. Great. Before I do that, let me make sure that I've got my victim running. That's going to be, for example, Windows 8 could be pretty much anything. I'm going to be targeting this guy. Why not? So this one is running. All good. Exploit, and let's wait. Now here, nothing is really connecting to us, so we can just be running this freely. And over here, I'm going to specify our Python script. Well, so we've got SMB relay. That's the part of the in-packet master. You can download that as well for free. And mine is H for victim. It's going to be 10, 10, 10, 250. This is our client. And I'm going to be using this particular CQ shell. So copy. Okay, great. So we've got a 250. And then we're going to do -E. And we're going to execute from now on. Let's do just paste. Yeah, that particular share. Lovely. Yeah, so this is the situation. Now, question is, of course, how can we perform this attack? So what we are supposed to do in order to make this attack work? I will simplify this attack as much as I can, just to make sure that everything is clear for ourselves. So right now we are waiting for some kind of authentication to happen. Yes. So what this could be, that's the question. What I will be interested more in is to look at this window. So let's have a look what kind of traffic we can establish here. Great. So we've got that part. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to that web server, one of these guys. Yep, and I will connect to one of the network resources. Yeah, let's do that. Here we go. And over here, we are able to see that there is a session established. So I can do PS for listing of the processes. Yeah, and you can see that I'm already on Windows 8. That was actually quite simple. So I can spot the different types of process ID. So do migrate 16. And then it's going to be, oh, that takes a little bit of time, 28. Let's see. Maybe we're lucky, maybe we're not. Then we're going to do it again. But the thing is that over here, we've got approximately 15 seconds to complete that. Lovely. We are, I don't want to say we are lucky because we know what we are doing, but we're quite lucky that we managed to do it on time. Yeah. So we've got this, migrating from, and so on. So what does it mean to migrate? We can do shell. In the meantime, to migrate means that you are actually using over here a privilege. That's not a vulnerability or anything like that. We are actually using the privilege that is called impersonate a client after authentication. So we were someone. Actually, in this case, we were administrator because this is an administrative account that was running over network. And we are migrating ourselves, so using impersonate a client after authentication to 1628. Why this is happening? Because we can. Because members of local administrative group, they can do that. As simple as it is. Yeah. Everybody being a local administrator can do that. So I can technically say, oh, I want to be this account. And if this account is authenticated, then you are able to be this account. There's also another privilege for token creation, but that is the one that only local system has. Yeah, so you can say, this account is not authenticated, but I want to have a token like this account. Can I do that? Totally. Maybe it's a subject for another session. Yeah. So here, well, we can check who we are, and you can see that we are actually an anti-authority system. Yeah, that's something that allows us to exploit things further. Yeah. Now, what could we do as this account? Yeah. So this is what I would like to show you in several demonstrations for now. Well, now we could start, for example, pass the hash. We could be compiling our own code over here. We could use CSC for code compilation. We could use PowerShell encoded command. Yeah. So different things that will allow us to download code. We could be thinking, okay, what if we implement here code execution prevention? Well, if you do it well, then of course, nothing will be able to execute that is not digitally signed. But let's don't forget that in most cases, in this kind of configurations, administrators are actually the ones that are allowed to run everything. And that's basically something that it's nice to exploit. We've got a customer like that. They have implemented a blocker, which is great. But administrators can do pretty much everything. So if we are targeting administrators over here, where's the deal? I mean, we are always able to execute the bad stuff, yeah? Great. So from that perspective, we could be, for example, hunting for service accounts, yeah? And I think we can leave this scenario already because we've proven that it's super easy to get access to, and it doesn't really require any more time over here. But whenever we are thinking about different scenarios for the execution, in general, let me just move forward. What is important to see is that if we've got some services running and so on, then maybe we could take over and we could go further for the further steps. I will show you something interesting if you don't mind. Not really long time ago, actually before Ignite, so it's approximately 3 weeks ago, we've been doing a little bit of a research if it's about the accounts that are used for SharePoint. So in the SharePoint book, in Microsoft's book, in the previous version of SharePoint, so 2013, there is actually written one mistake that lots of administrators, as it appears, they were replicating. So if you did not have someone who was doing the SharePoint for you according to good practices, it could be that we could have this thing misconfigured. Yeah. So let me, of course, explain what do we mean. Whenever we've got SharePoint configured, so SharePoint service and so on, that particular SharePoint service, in order for the profile synchronization and stuff like that, needs to have an appropriate privilege configured in the domain. That privilege is replicating directory changes. Unfortunately, in this book, it was requested that it should be replicating directory changes all. And the question is, what can we do with this? Yeah. So let me show you what do we mean and what kind of stuff can we get when we have that stuff misconfigured. That could be nicely exploited in the environment. Very innocent service, innocent configuration, but actually quite deadly. Good. So we're gonna get into, let's say, Active Directory users and computers. Yep. And what we're gonna be getting over here, it's the service account, but not the managed service account, but just a regular user, for example, that is used for the SharePoint. Yeah, so it could be, and it could be we could create an account like this. So let's just do something, some kind of a user account. So it could be svc_sp. Let's do that. svc_sp. Next, password, and this. Okay, great. Finish. Perfect. So this particular account, in order to play with it, maybe locally, why not? We could give this account the possibility to log on interactively to this box. So this is the allow log on locally, which is actually quite a strange name. We could very quickly add this account, for example, to print operators. Yes, so why not? Yeah, it does not actually give us any particular privileges over here. Yeah, so let's just do that. So this is a member of print operators. Perfect. Yeah. So let's move forward. So in general, what is happening is that if we do have that SharePoint configuration, we just do delegate control. Yes. And next, and when we specify the user to which we want to delegate control to. So it's going to be SVC something something, check names, we've got our SharePoint, okay. Yeah, so perfect. Now next, we can create a custom task to delegate, why not? And over here, we're able to choose, of course, which objects we would like to delegate control to. Yes, so we can go next, we can choose all of the objects. And this is the most important part, yes? So we can grab from the list these particular privileges that we are talking about. So one thing is that replicating directory changes, yes, and what some mistakes include. So please do check your SharePoint service delegation over here. Replicating directory changes all. And that's absolutely bad, and I know that. But unfortunately, since we've worked on it, we were checking for if the SharePoint service has this, and apparently it actually happens very often. Yes, so this is the case. We can also verify if we do have appropriate permissions over here. So this is the flow, and we can technically check if this is good. Let me just do properties. Okay, managed by yeah, that's yeah. Let's just leave it like this. We can keep it like this. Okay, good. So what is next? Next is that in order to be able to replicate stuff as this particular user, we will need to start the PowerShell as this particular user. Yeah. So we can do right click and we can do PowerShell and we can do a start as a different user, SVC SharePoint, and then we can specify some password over here and start this particular command as this guy. Okay, let's do properties, if you don't mind, and I will quickly enlarge the font. Lovely. So at that point, I can, for example, import module ds internals. Yeah, that's the module that is written by our good colleague Michael Granefter, and this is one of the greatest modules that you can use for management of different types of Active Directory objects, especially from the security perspective. Yes. So what can we do? We can specify first, who am I? Of course, we got this. We can specify and create some directory. So let's just do that. We can put this stuff in analysis. Why not? So we've got already a directory, and we can specify get AD replicate backup key. And that backup key, it's something that I would like to exploit on a little bit later after this demonstration, because backup key, it's something that we call in our team golden key. This is part of our big data protection API research that allows us to decrypt all of the secrets of people in the domain that have used this for encryption. Yes. So I will explain that in a second. So we've got to get ADA replicate backup key. We can specify the domain, and in our case, it's going to be secured.tech. And we can specify server, and this is basically our server over here. So we can check what is the host name. Yes, and this is our DC that we can refer to over here. So this is the one. Bring it on. So copy name and then paste it. And this is basically, we're going to be getting this locally. And we are saving data protection API blob into, and then we can specify directory path, as simple as it could be. And then let's just make it full screen, directory path, here we go. And then we bring it up and we save it into C analysis. Yeah, here we go. So what just happened is that we can get into C analysis. Here we go. Yep, there. Yeah, and over here we can see, please have a look, this PFX stuff over here. Yes, so this PFX, it is actually super important PFX, and it allows us at some point, empty password, to, and when we import it, let me show you, yeah, to play with all the secrets of the domain. Yes, I think it would be easier if because this is what I did to my local store, so it would be easier if I just do it from that level. It's because that's going to be as an administrator that I'm logged on with on the top of the session, and the PowerShell is running as this SVC account. Yeah, please have a look. This is pretty cool. This is how this backup key looks in a domain. Issued to nobody, issued by nobody. It's already expired. There's no way, guys, you are able to renew it. That's how it is. Yes, and the interesting part is that it is actually using SHA-1. Enjoy. Yeah. So what I want to show you is that this is what can be done by the SharePoint service. Now, that's one thing. let me show you what we can do by the regular tools, so extraction of this key again, but using the different method. Normally, during the attack, I will use, of course, the SharePoint service if I could, or anybody who can do the replicate all, or I could do our tool, CQ Elsa secrets dumper, as simple as it could be. We specify file, and then equals exported.pfx, and that's exactly the same stuff, yes? So exported pfx, enter, enter. Here we specify the password secure because this is our tool. Next, next, thank you. Now, funny part of that, of course, just let me show you so that you can see that this is the same stuff. As you see, not available, that's this guy, yeah? So this is a different type of domain. Now, where's the drill? The drill is that if I do have over here Freddy Krueger, and I would like to overuse, so I'm going to log on with password, overuse his secrets and get access to his secrets from his profile, yeah? First, let me show you how Data Protection API in Windows works so that you can be sure that if you have your profile, roaming, and so on, nobody else besides you and your domain admin at the end can fetch your secrets. Let's have a look. I'm logged on as Freddy. So Freddy is, by the way, a regular user. Just to show you this. Again, I like to show that because then there is no misunderstanding. Chrome Pass, I'm going to run this. It's from Nearsoft. And again, absolutely not a big deal because what you see over here is that this is a Freddy's password. He saved it in Chrome. Now, of course, please remember every single time you share your secrets with browser, Outlook, KeePass relying on your Windows logon, anything that relies on your session, yourself, your identity, this is grabbable easily if someone is in a position of this backup key. Let's prove it. It's actually quite a big deal. That's what we have discovered, yeah? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reboot this machine. It's going to be quite an interesting demonstration because I would like to override over here cache logon data or something that some other people call cache credentials because Data Protection API relies on the user's credentials. This is a domain user, please note this. And our job would be to log on with the cache logon data that I'm going to change. And just to make sure that we are not logging on to the network, I'm just going to set the network adapter to not connected. So why am I doing this? Because as I already mentioned, Data Protection API relies on a user's credentials. So if I will be presenting something else like illegal credentials, something else, in general, users' passwords hash encrypt master keys. So these ones, when I log on, will not be able to be decrypted. Then, at some point, I shouldn't be able to get access to secrets. Let's see. So we do troubleshoot, advanced options, command prompt, skip the BitLocker drive, one of them is encrypted, and at that certain point, I will change this cache logon data to show you that Data Protection API is not vulnerable to illegal password changes, okay? That's going to be the flow. So let's go to CQ Tools, Kiwi Secure Edition. This is our Mimikatz Secure Edition that is, again, not recognized by antivirus. We're going to do LSA dump, yeah, cache. And we are changing cache logon data. Our team has reversed cache logon data, so we're happy to answer the questions if you have them. Windows System 32, config, and they're in system, because this is where the boot key is to decrypt this. Windows System 32, config, security, and then /kiwi. Security, because this is where cache logon data is. So boot key and cache logon data is what we need. Okay, so we have overwritten that. So let's log on again as Freddy, but this time we're going to log on with the changed cache logon data. It's going to be quite cool because it's going to be domain user logging on to the same box, but this time with a different password. And we're going to see that even though we did this kind of attack, at some point user will not be able to get access to user secrets, but that's not the end of the story. That's why you are here. That's why I'm here to show you that getting access to all of the domain users' secrets, it's totally possible. Now I'm going to log on with the password Mimikatz. So different password for the domain user. Bring it on. and let's see what's the result. Yeah. So this is actually quite a cool thing. Cache log on data, by the way, just a small offline comment over here. It's nothing dangerous. There are plenty of security recommendations saying, oh, don't use cache credentials. No, seriously, with the pbkdf2 function, that is the same as in KeePass and LastPass and all the other solutions, you can sleep well. Of course, it's brute forceable, but it's so strong that within the current times, it's not really the case. And it also depends on your password length. Yeah, so this is the flow. You can see in my Windows that malware is detected because I'm actually testing AMSI platform with the WMI queries and so on, so that's why you can see that. Let's just jump into CQ tools. Okay, and let's go to Chrome Pass. Here we go. Yep, and you can tell right now that Chrome Pass, it takes a little bit of time because it's going through all the master keys and it tries to decrypt them with my current user's password hash. In this case, it's going to be MD4 because it's a domain user, and that doesn't work. So password is empty. Yeah, we're not able to see that. Okay, so how can we then get access to the Freddy's password? Here's the answer for you, and we're going to be working as a regular user. So what do we need is this backup key from the domain. Yeah, so potentially if the domain admin is very curious, then this person could be a little bit of master of puppet in the organization. Quite a cool scenario. But let's have a look. We're going to get into CQ tools, data protection API, CLS. And what do we need to do is to decrypt data protection API master keys with the exported this PFX from the domain. It could be from ntds.dit, it could be from domain controllers memory. We can extract it pretty much from all of the places. We've got tools for that that we are sharing on our blog. So here I have already this exported copied. That's from the domain. But what do I need to get? First of all, I need to generate hash of the current password because we're going to be encrypting secrets in order to be able to read them with the current password hash. So this is this one, MD4, here we go. Yeah, I'm bringing up. So let's copy that. And I'm going to use for that CQ master key ID. This is our core tool for our data protection API research. And I'm going to specify new hash as one of the parameters. Then PFX exported. So we are decrypting secrets with PFX, encrypting them with new hash, yeah? But again, what kind of secrets? And that's something that I have to explain. If we go to the %appdata % on the user side, Microsoft, protect, there is a hidden folder with the user SID. This is a list of master keys, or as we should rather say, master keys containers. So what is interesting over here is that I've got this key marked over here that I know that this is the one that is used for protection, so encryption of the user's secrets in Chrome. How do I know? That's a longer answer, but in general, every single data protection API blob, it's identifiable, and we are able to spot that. Let me just show you some example here. I'm going to use for that purpose a 010 editor. Very nice software. Oh, okay. Let's do that. And I've got over here data protection API blob from KeePass, protected user key bin. Yes. Now we have written a template that allows us to analyze these kind of blobs. So let me run this template. Okay. So what do we see over here? So this is the structure data protection API blob, and then there is a value that is called master key GUID. We name this value this way. So here we go. And this particular master key GUID, it's the one that when you have the encrypted blob and you analyze it this way, it will always tell you, for example, for KeePass database, it will tell us which master key is actually responsible for encrypting or protecting in general that particular file. So the same as with Chrome and anybody else. Yeah, if we store a secret in the user's profile, there is a file in Chrome too that you take it, you put it into 010 editor, you run our template, and then this will display you a GUID of the key. So it's not the same because it's a different secret. This was just an example, but this is how I know that this is the one. So shift right click copy as path. Shift right click once again, so copy as path, great. And then we've got here, we specify file, back, enter. So this gives us additional value, this AD modified. That's what we have created over here. So what do I need to do? I need to replace them because this one was encrypted with our user's passwords hash, but the previous one, which I have no idea about, this guy I'm going to rename and replace. But the problem with this is that it still has this weird icon, which means it's not a system file. So our tool generates this attrib command +s+h, enter, which allows us, enter, to change this value into the system value. And this is one of the conditions, by the way, this one here, that data protection API takes into consideration. Otherwise, we will not be able to get access to that by using the API of Windows. Yeah. So what's next? Hey guys, that's pretty much end of story. Yeah. So question is, am I able over here to see the password? Now no, but let me refresh, and as you see, we are able to easily see the password over here. Yeah. So this is how someone, by fetching the golden key, as we call it, from the domain controller's memory, domain controller's backup, being a SharePoint service that is misconfigured, bring it on by, or for example, using SMB relay. So if someone manages to get access to this particular key, then we are controlling identities of the whole organization. Now, we could be thinking, well, of course, because if someone becomes a domain controller, then it's over. Yeah, but don't get me wrong, it may not be over. It's not in my interest to destroy some infrastructure. My interest is actually to be very vicious over here and get everybody else's secrets so that I can beat these people in Facebook, LinkedIn, and so on. And that is basically the tool that allows us to perform that. Yeah. So quite interesting situation. Now, a little bit of things for explanation, yeah, so that we feel comfortable about what just happened. Yeah, you could be asking the question over here, because this subject is not very easy. How did it happen that some kind of a PFX from the domain controller's memory could, at that certain stage, give us something like this, give us this big PFX? Answer is very simple, because in the data protection API, it works in a way that we've got over here in the user's profile this BK backup key, as we call it, BK secure. Every single user in the domain has this one in its profile. Now, what is this? This is nothing but a public key of the domain that is used to encrypt secrets. Now, let me just give you a little bit of an insight over here. It is quite important to maybe paint a little bit of a picture, because I would like to show you one thing. So let me just take a print screen over here. I'm going to copy this guy, and I'm going to play with it a little bit in, again, the most advanced tool in this world, which is MS Paint. So explanation is coming. So what just happened is that here we've got master keys. Actually, these files contain master keys, but each of these values contains master keys of a different kind. So this is not really the master key, but this is the master key container. And over here, we've got one master key that is encrypted in two ways, either by user's passwords hash, so in this case, it's MD4 for the domain user, or user's passwords hash, SHA-1, for the local users. Yeah, so long story short, this is nothing but a domain user, and this is nothing but a local user. Yeah. Now, okay, so this is the first thing. This is the first copy of the master key. But the second copy of the master key, yes, it is encrypted with the backup key that we can see over here. So obviously, what this is leading us to is that if someone has the private key of the domain, yes, and this is, simply speaking, in DC backup or whatever, is able to decrypt every single value here in every single user's profile. And that is something that we are digesting over here. So this is a beauty of the data protection API. Now, question is, how far really can we go with that? And answer is quite straightforward. We can go here very, very far, because every single secret encrypted like this could be fetched. Okay, like what? Let's have a look and let's see how we could exploit that further. So I'm going to start over here one of my machines. That's going to be, let's do reconnect, Windows 10, another client over here. And I'm going to log on over here as administrator, because my job will be actually to get access to the user's passwords secret. Yeah, so this is the flow. Now, how that would work, let's dig in. So I'm logged on right now to this particular account. So this is who am I? I'm administrator. But again, I don't have to be, because I will tell you something. Our job would be to get access to the Freddy's password. Now, one thing to show you. I've got over here different types of analysis file. Actually, let's leave one file, because this is what we will need to digest. This one goes out. So this CQ base, let's just make a clear view. I will try to authenticate as secure, and I can't. Yeah, here we go. It says, no, the password is wrong. Okay, so this is the KDBX file, so the KeyPass database of the user. Now, where do we get this protected user keybin? Because protected user keybin, it's the file that is in the user's profile that is used to decrypt or encrypt symmetric encryption user's database. And if we go to users Freddy Krueger update roaming, there is KeyPass, and this is the place where we've got this protected user keybin. If you rely your KeyPass on your credentials in Windows, you're going to have the same thing, okay? So that's how it works. So let's find out if we are able to decrypt this protected user keybin. That's the first thing. Second, in order to decrypt this database. Now, what do we need to have? Using the same things that we've been just talking about regarding the domain controller, I will start this scenario in the middle of it. So remember, over here in the back, we were, in this picture, we were getting access and decrypting the user's master keys by using the exported PFX. Okay, so I am here at that stage right now. So over here, I do have decrypted user's master key. So I'm going to use this guy, and I'm going to use this within our tools. So first tool that I'm going to use is the CQ Data Protection API blob decryptor. But this guy, and in the case of a KeyPass, it's quite interesting, it needs to have lots of different types of parameters for the data protection API, which is blob, master key for sure, and maybe entropy. And like SQL Server Transport Data Encryption or KeyPass, these guys use actually entropy. And entropy looks like this. Okay, so we're going to be getting this guy too. So maybe let me just copy this one first. So we've got an entropy, and CQ Data Protection API blob decryptor takes master key. We have this entropy. We just copy that. Blob, it's going to be this protected user key bin. Let's do it. CQ Data Protection API blob decryptor. Now, entropy. Blink. Then we've got a master. Let's just copy this guy. It's quite a long key, but that's how the master key looks in a decrypted form. Blob, C analysis, protected user key bin. Here we go. Now, we have decrypted this file. Now, this key here, it's nothing but the content of the protected user key bin. So we could also guess that if the protected user key bin is the one that decrypts the CQ base, so KDBX, KeyPass database, then this key is actually the one that does this. Totally. Yeah, so we're going to get into CQ KeyPass decryptor, and we're going to specify over here the key. Okay, we've got this, and file, which is in C analysis, CQ base 1, KDBX, boom. So we've got this file, KDBX, that's our new database. We can, oops, maybe not with this file here. We'll try to open it. Now please have a look for this one, because we are re-encrypting it. It was decrypted by us and encrypted again just to make sure it's in a safe condition. So we are specifying over here master password secure, enter, and this is how we are getting access to KeyPass. Yeah, so long story short, if you rely your KeyPass on particularly credentials of Windows, then this is how we will be getting access to that particular database. Okay, guys, a little bit of a summary, if you don't mind, and then time to listen about Retina and some other stuff. So, of course, we should always test ourselves whenever we can. Pen tests should be built in our yearly budget, or maybe even more often after big changes in the infrastructure. Statistically, our team is always getting in, and it's probably not only our team that is getting in, but that's because there's lots of different dependencies in between systems that they have to be checked. For the fact that you are only keeping up to date, it doesn't mean that you are safe. It's really a matter of misconfiguration, and it's always nice to have the third-party look into and in order to get to the objective analysis of what's happening in your infrastructure. So that's the case. So this testing, whether it's automated or manual, it has to be definitely happening. If you're interested to get more, then basically we've got this little thing. This is the online training. We run it only once a year. If you're interested in more details, this is secureacademy.com/advanced2018. You can sign up on the list, and then we will let you know about the details. Everybody that attends always Beyond Trust webinars with us get the discount, so make sure that you will sign up. It's only once a year that we run it, so we want to get the best group of people interacting with each other. If you're going to be in cool New York in January or May, I'll be there and we will have a chance to see each other. Also, there is a discount for Beyond Trust guys, so please make sure that you will not miss it. And fun at the end. If you go to secureacademy.com/quiz, we've got a quiz 2.0, 25 questions, no need to register. It's a fun tool, so hopefully you're going to enjoy it. And enough of fun and hacking, time to do a little bit of securing maybe, and Bill has some cool stuff to mention to you too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paula. That was wonderful. All right, so thanks for sticking around with us. Just to kind of cover a couple of other things. So obviously what was covered today was really, we're talking about, you know, some of the configuration issues that most of us face on a day-to-day basis. And one of the applications that Beyond Trust offers is what's called our Retina Enterprise Vulnerability Management application. So really what our focus is to basically pull data from within your enterprise and consolidate all of that into one central reporting engine, so that I can basically see what's going on within the environment, whether we're talking about configurations or whether we're talking about vulnerabilities. So pulling all of this data together into a single reporting console is really, you know, the goal to ensure that, you know, my security teams have access to the latest information regarding vulnerabilities within the organization. And just to take a peek at some of the components of the application, we're really focused on some of the advanced reporting features. Most vulnerability scanners that are out there on the market, obviously we're able to detect the vulnerabilities, so there's not a lot of differences there. It's a matter of how do we deliver the actual data to the consumers of that data. So the Beyond Insight analytics and reporting piece that we offer really provides, you know, higher level reporting. So I can view the data and slice it and dice it how I see fit to really ensure that my organization is prioritizing, you know, the really critical vulnerabilities that are out there, and we can focus on, you know, organizationally, let's start with, you know, the most dangerous stuff and work our way back. So just a quick snapshot of what's gone on here. We're looking at just an extended executive summary, a simple breakdown over the last year of assets discovered with high and medium vulnerabilities, any particular exclusions of vulnerabilities, a breakdown of the top 10 high vulnerabilities, just listing those out, your top 10 medium vulnerabilities. If I want additional details or context around those vulnerabilities, I can certainly drill in to get that information. We'll provide the fix information, things like the PCI severity, CVSS score, associated references from a CVE, CWE perspective as well. I can also drill into the Beyond Insight Analytics and Reporting Console to show some additional data around vulnerability management to really focus on things such as risk. So one of the main features is where do we prioritize our efforts. So if I wanted to look at the risk matrix by vulnerabilities report, which is going to go ahead and show me, you know, where should my team focus its efforts on, performing mitigation, a nice breakdown from a chart perspective can show me the impact vulnerabilities may have in my environment going from low to high versus the risk. So the risk is indicated here in this column, meaning if there are any vulnerabilities, there aren't in this environment here, but if there were any vulnerabilities, for me to take advantage of these in this low risk range, I'd need to be local to the target and actually have privilege on that host. That's really low risk because mitigation is quite easily performed when I either lock the door behind that particular machine, quite easy to perform mitigation here from a low risk versus the high level, right? So the high level risk components we're talking about, I can be remote from the target and also not need privileged access in order to potentially take advantage of the 83 high impact vulnerabilities that have been found in this environment. The nice piece here is we're also going to indicate in the parentheses here that there are 10 that actually already have known exploits. So that's what we're drilling into here, the 10 different vulnerabilities that are high impact, high risk, and already have exploits associated with them. So I can drill into these as well and get those additional details to see, we've got the a breakdown of the description, fixed information, again, PCI scores, CVSS scores, associated exploit information as well. And trust me, the people that are out there looking to get into your network, they're well aware of this stuff already. So they're already potentially knocking on doors and looking at what your what potential they have to actually get into your environment. And these types of exploits can certainly assist with easing their ability to get in there as well. We can also take a look at some of the additional reports here with regards to the basic things like your threat analyzer. So let's say I needed to go ahead and look at the organization to say, all right, if I were to take some of my employees to say we're going to go ahead and patch some of the actual groups of assets that we have, meaning my firewalls, my different work groups or workstations or different servers, I can group them however I see fit within the applications that we have in the Beyond Insight Analytics and Reporting engine here, and then I can go ahead and report on those. So what I can see here is really a vulnerability score or a vulnerability count or an asset score. And when I go ahead and look at the scoring here, if I were to double click on this, what we actually do is we apply some metrics here. So we're saying if you were to go ahead and perform 20 recommended mitigations out of the 458 available, you're actually going to get some metrics around performing the remediations on those vulnerabilities or the configurations. So sort of both. We're looking at remediations for vulnerabilities and also mitigations and configuration options that are going to really increase or decrease the risk and increase the security within the environment. So you've got a breakdown of the total asset score, average scores, vulnerability scores, etc. We're also going to show you things like the risk reduction worksheet. So here's the recommended mitigations as well. So we can go ahead and drill in and actually see the different recommended security fixes here as well. So I can see the the remediation information. I can see the different assets as well, so we can expose that count. If I wanted, I could see the actual details around what the audit check is that we actually perform to determine whether or not that vulnerability exists within the environment. So again, really the differentiator here for us at Beyond Trust with regards to our vulnerability management application here is not really the fact that we can detect vulnerabilities. Again, all of the scanners out there can do that. It's a matter of how we take that same data and break it out so that it becomes easy to use and easy to implement in the environment, and we're not overwhelmed with, hey, I ran a scan and I've got 20,000 vulnerabilities here. Where do I start? That's really the focus here, to get the security teams up and running on some of the higher priority stuff so that they actually start the process of mitigation and remediation. And with that, I think I'll turn it back over to Sarah. And thanks a lot.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Phil. Okay, guys. At this point, let's jump into our last poll and then dive into some questions. We had a bunch come in. But first, would you be interested in walking through a more thorough one-on-one demo or having a conversation with one of our security experts? Let us know. Select yes. I'm going to leave this up. Let's dive right into questions. Paula, this came in for you. So this person had a question. So all we need to get users past passwords to have the DC's private key, or is there a vulnerability that was exploited to get access to the user's password?
Yeah, so all you need to do to get access to the user's secrets, not really the password, maybe the user is reusing the password, but in general, we are talking secrets here, then yes, totally, you need to have access to the private key that is stored in the domain controller. It's not a vulnerability because that is actually used within the operations, like for example, if the domain admin resets the user password, you will still get access to the secrets if you log on. What do I mean by secrets? Let's say you store the password in a browser for Facebook, yeah? If you're like, oh no, I forgot my password, domain admin is going to be, okay, I'm going to reset it for you. Then you log on, and then you can still open a browser and still see that it's cached password in a browser, because that's what this key is used for sometimes. But if you know how to export it, and if it's in wrong hands, then basically anything that relies on your credentials, on your logon, single sign-on, and so on, is possible to be exported, extracted, and read in a clear text eventually at the end. Yes, that's the fact.
Paula, does a good PKI infrastructure keep the attacker from being able to get the backup key?
No, it has nothing to do with this, totally. So basically, even though there was like a smart card logon for the domain controller and so on, you can still extract it from the memory. Maybe someone has access to the domain controller backup. It's a matter of getting access to the file at the end on the domain controller. So PKI infrastructure here couldn't help it, but we could be wondering, can I, for example, get access to KeePass if I'm logged on by smart card? No, because even though you log on with smart card, you still rely on a data protection API in Windows. Yeah, it's all about these files that I showed you, so the master keys and so on, and they are also protected with smart card, and they are encrypted with the public key of the domain. So answer is no.
Paula, will a patch change the default configuration so that it is a secure configuration, or is this a manual configuration?
There is nothing we are actually configuring in order to achieve this. This is a default configuration that you cannot really change, because this key is out there and it's not resetted, it's not renewed, nothing like that. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's very bad news. Yeah, but nope, answer is nothing would really change this.
Paula, where can we find the publicly available tools that you mentioned and demonstrated in the demo today?
So you can find those tools in secureacademy.com, and there is our blog. And if you review our blog post, under every blog post that is related with a subject, so search for data protection API, we share all these tools that I've been presenting today. And they are free, of course.
Awesome. Okay, guys, it is that time to wrap things up. I did receive a bunch of questions asking about the recording, and yes, you will be receiving an email. It will come from communications@beyondtrust.com within about 1 to 2 business days, so probably early next week, and it will include a link to the recording and the slides shown here today, so you can go back, review, share, and rewatch, and maybe hurt your brain a little bit more with all the stuff that Paula showed us. A lot of good info. Thank you so much, Paula, for being here today. We always have so much fun with you. And a big thanks to everybody else who attended live. You guys rock. Thanks for all your questions, and have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you at the next webinar. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.